Welcome to Football Origins. Today we'll find out how one South American country went on to win Football World Cups by first playing cricket. Football is the most popular British exports of them all. Here at The Far Out, we're going to have a look at why most Commonwealth countries, such as our own, have failed to qualify, let alone leave a mark, at the biggest tournaments of them all, the FIFA World Cup. We will do that by deep diving into the footballing history of three powerhouses of the football world. None among them are part of the Commonwealth. Few among them were colonial powers in their own right. We will talk about how it all began, under what circumstances football was introduced in those countries, and how for most among them, one other sport was the centerpiece of it all. In the process, we'll get some insights on what were the key elements that contributed to the sport's popularity in these countries, as well as what was the watershed moment for their national team. And most importantly, what can India learn from them moving forward? Today, the country that we're going to talk about, their football team is called Lalbi Celeste, one of my favorite teams, Argentina. First up, we got key element numero uno, railway employees of British origin working in Argentina. Although Britain and Argentina have been hostile towards each other, especially over the Falkland Islands in the recent past, there were peaceful relations between the two countries for well over 100 years post-Argentine independence. UK was among the first countries which recognized Argentina's independence from Spain in early 19th century. Not only were they trade partners, relations between the two countries were so great that despite not being a colony, at one point in the 19th century, 10% of British foreign investment was in Argentina, whereas 35% of all foreign investment in Argentina was British. This was all made possible due to the arrival of British immigrants into Argentina. In the 19th century, the European immigration wave made Argentina the country with the second largest number of immigrants, second only to the United States. The first English and Scottish settlers arrived in Buenos Aires in 1806 in small numbers during the failed British invasion of Spanish-ruled Argentina. Post-independence, the country saw a steady rise in those numbers. Argentina was an emerging nation, and the settlers were welcomed for the stability they brought to commercial life. Unlike many waves of immigration to Argentina, British immigrants were not leaving UK because of poverty or persecution, but they were industrialists, businessmen, and major landowners who saw an opportunity in Argentina, which was then a sparsely populated country. Others went as railway engineers, civil engineers, few in banking and commerce. Others went to become whalers, missionaries, and simply to seek out a future. As the 19th century progressed, more English and Scottish families moved to Argentina. Many among them bought land to develop the potential of the Argentine grasslands, the pampas, for large-scale growing of crops. English families sent their second and younger sons, or what were described as the black sheep of the family, to Argentina to make their fortunes in cattle and wheat. Around the same time, across the Atlantic, interesting developments were taking place in England regarding football. Football till then was played for many centuries in some form or the other. However, there were no universally accepted rules for playing it. That is, players could kick the ball, run with the ball in hand, hold players in place, etc. All that changed when the Football Association was formed in 1863. Formalized set of rules were agreed upon, which made a clear distinction between the first version of modern football and rugby. Both of them had their own uniforms, rituals, gestures, and highly formalized set of rules. Now we go right back across the pond to Argentina, where by 1867 there was a large British community in Buenos Aires. By then, these British citizens had founded social and sports clubs where they could practice sports such as tennis, horse riding, and with the FA rules at their disposal, two English immigrants, Thomas and James Hogg, organized a meeting in May 1867 in Buenos Aires, where the Buenos Aires Football Club was founded. The club was given permission by the Buenos Aires Cricket Club to make use of their cricket field for their football matches. The first recorded football match in Argentina took place in the same year in June on that pitch. As was the case with most British sports clubs in non-Commonwealth countries, the cricket field was available for football during the cricket off-season. Football was also a means for players to warm up before a cricket game. Having said that, there were only British citizens playing the game, that too only in their social clubs. No locals participated so far. 15 years later, in 1884, a Scottish schoolteacher Alexander Hutton, founded the Buenos Aires English High School, where he instructed the pupils in the game. He is widely considered as the father of Argentine football. In 1891, the Association Argentine Football League (AAFL) was formed. It was the first football league outside of the British Isles, the first in South America, and the fifth oldest league in the whole world. Unfortunately, the league couldn't gain any traction as only one season was played with 5 teams. During this period, a number of football clubs were set up by employees of various British-owned railway companies in Argentina, and few among them have survived to the present day. This brings us to our key element number 1, the popularity of football among these railway employees, which shouldn't come as a surprise, as around the same time the love affair between the working class in the UK and football started blossoming, which is safe to say still going strong today. It was around this time when football became the preferred sport over cricket at the British sports clubs where these employees were members. In February 1893, a new league with the same name as its predecessor, AAFL, was formed. This league, on the other hand, did succeed. It eventually became the Argentine Football Association, the famous AFA, which we see today on the Argentine kit. Nearly all of the players were British expats, and the clubs were all founded by them. Most successful and admired teams of this early times too were composed again mainly of British players. These early clubs had a policy of excluding the local Creole population. The backlash against this policy at the Quilmes Athletic Club saw the formation of Argentino de Quilmes in 1899, the first of many Argentine clubs comprised mainly of Argentine players. At the turn of the century, tours of British football clubs to South America also contributed to the spread and development of football in Argentina. The first club to tour was Southampton in 1904, followed by several teams until 1929, with Chelsea being the last team to tour. It was around the same time that clubs like River Plate, Boca Juniors, among several others were formed. All of these clubs have become part of football folklore ever since. After the coup d'etat in Argentina in 1930 and during the Second World War, the position of British origin Argentines became complicated. Their economic influence was compromised with the wave of nationalization across Argentina. Many British owned companies were nationalized. Now we head on to a key element numero 2. The Italians take over. Although the continent itself is named after an Italian, Italy had no colonies on the continent at any point of time. Having said that, the Italian influence on the continent in the 20th century cannot be denied, especially when it comes to Latin America. Let it be local culture, politics or sports, Italians who immigrated to the continent played a huge part. After the economic crisis of 1870s, millions of Italians left Italy to find a better life in the Americas. Many among them made their way to Argentina. Argentina's population, however, was already small to begin with, which stood at 1.7 million in 1870. During the decade between 1860 and 1870 alone, 100,000 Italians immigrated to Argentina. This meant the Italians quickly began to dominate in big cities like Buenos Aires, with majority among them working in agriculture or construction. But rather than forming their own segregated neighborhoods like the Little Italies of New York, Boston or Chicago, the Italians smoothly integrated into these Latino societies. The reason is Spanish language is much closer to its own language families, that is Latin, as compared to members of the Germanic language families such as German and English. Therefore, it's much easier for an Italian to learn Spanish. So rather than creating their own ethnic neighborhoods, many new Italian immigrants very often married the native-born men or women in Argentina, who could have been of Spanish, Portuguese, French or multiracial heritage. 60% of the Argentine population today has some degree of Italian ancestry, making it arguably the largest European component in the country. The Brits did their part by laying the foundation of football in Argentina, but it was arguably the Italian immigrants who took it to the next level. This was partly due to the success of earlier version of Serie A or the Italian Regional Championship back home in Italy. The Italians in Argentina not only took to football but also started to watch the game in no time. So much that Argentina's national side was comprised mostly of Italian immigrants when they played the final of the first World Cup in 1930. Moreover, the Italian World Cup winning squad of 1934 comprised of 3 Argentine nationals. This brings to our key element numero 3, Argentina's national team journey. The first official match played by the Argentinian national team was in July 1902 against Uruguay. The game marked the beginning of the Argentina and Uruguay football rivalry. The final of the first ever World Cup was played between these two teams in 1930. Their classical light blue and white striped jersey was worn for the first time in a friendly game in 1908. In 1916, Argentina competed in the first Copa America, which is South American Intercontinental Championship. Argentina won its first Copa America in 1921, and they have gone on to win it a total of 15 times. Argentina played in the first 2 World Cups, however they declined to participate in the next 3, even though they had qualified for all 3 of them. Their third appearance only came in 1958. By that time, Uruguay and Italy had won 2 World Cups each, and Brazil, their arch rivals, was in its ascendancy. Argentina's international watershed moment undoubtedly came in 1978, when they not only hosted but also won their first World Cup. Argentina hosted this World Cup under difficult circumstances during a military dictatorship that lasted for another 5 years, which plunged the country into a period of uncertainty. In the second half of the 20th century, despite political turmoil in the country and a decline in its economy, popularity of football was not diminished in Argentina. Football in Argentina became much more than a sport. It became a national obsession. However, Argentina is not unique in that sense. Football became a means to climb the social ladder. From World Cup wins in 1978 and 1986 to Diego Maradona and Lionel Messi becoming household names, football became a matter of identity and national pride for the Argentines. So that wraps up this segment. Hope you liked it. We are not going to talk much about the recent history as it's already part of football folklore and you guys definitely know more about it than we do. Do you reckon Argentina could add a third star here this December in Qatar? Let us know in the comments below. And if we missed out on something about Argentinian football that we couldn't cram in this video as well. We are going to talk about one footballing powerhouse every episode, deep diving into their footballing history, learn about how football became so popular over there, and what India can do to replicate their success one day at the world stage.